I have a lot of company that comes in the summer, and we have a lot of mostly family that comes, and we love that. We love that we are blessed to have a property that has a little cabin, and so we have lots of family come up. And just a couple weeks ago, I had a family member come up, and I know she's really into psychology, as am I, as a lot of you know. So I said, so how do you feel the power of gratitude can affect your life? And she said, well, there's lots of science. She's been through university and lots of science to support what it does in the brain, all these things. And then she said, well, let me sleep on it, and then I'll talk to you in the morning. So the next day, she came up and she said, I have the perfect gratitude illustration for you. And she said, you know, when I used to come to your house, because she's been coming since she's a little girl, I used to cringe at having to use the outhouse at the beach. And it just terrified me to use the outhouse. And then the older I get, you know, I stay in the cabin. It's just a lot of work to go up the hill to the bathroom. So I've decided to embrace the outhouse and to shift my thinking about the outhouse. And so, you know, now what I do is I just leave the door wide open and I do my business in the wild. And I have really realized that my appreciation for the outhouse has grown because my perspective has shifted. So there is our inspiration this morning about gratefulness. Gratefulness is a universal language. It crosses all cultures, it crosses all time. We all have different ways to show that we're grateful. I grew up in a culture where verbal greatness wasn't as common. You weren't taught as much about verbal gratitude, but you were taught a lot about acts of kindness and supporting and helping and being together in that. So that is a form of gratefulness. Some people are great at notes. Do you have any friends who are just great at throwing a little note in the mailbox, or just little gifts or little things? And so across all cultures, across all times, there are so many ways that we can be grateful and show our gratitude. It has been said that gratefulness is the easiest way to change your life, to change your thinking. And it also has been said that a lack of gratefulness can destroy your life, can destroy your relationships, can really do a number by being ungrateful. I really truly believe, when Steve asked me about how passionate I am about gratefulness, I haven't arrived, but I am passionate about it. And I really believe when he texted me, I said, I really, really believe that gratefulness can soften us. And I think that it softens our attitude, it softens our thinking, it softens the very spirit in us. So I really believe that gratefulness can soften us. I think it's a language of the heart. I think we all want to be noticed. I think we all want to be appreciated. And I think it's something that is not always easy to articulate, but it's kind of a deep feeling when we experience it that really touches our hearts. So I ask, because I know you're all very capable of contributing this morning, what is it that holds us back from being grateful? Any thoughts? What holds us back from being grateful? Embarrassed. Okay. Maybe we don't want to put ourselves out there, right? Okay, embarrassment. Sorry? Pride. Because there's a little part in all of us that kind of thinks we got this. There's a bit in us that thinks we got this. I mean, we work and we get paid and we got this, right? What else? Pride.
Comparison.
Oh, right. Can you expand on that?
I mean, we live in an online connected world too. So
Right.
It's really easy to see the best of everyone else's life and then compare that to your everyday life.
Yeah.
And
Right.
to what everyone else is.
So there's a not enough culture out there. We don't have enough, right? We have envy. Can we be truly grateful and envious in the same thought? Can we be grateful and envy in the same thought? Can we be materialistic and grateful in the same thought? Materialistic meaning I need more, I need more, I need more, right? Can we be that in the same thought? Anything else? What keeps us from being truly grateful? Self-sufficient?
No, selfishness.
Selfishness. Expand?
I guess it would look like, why give somebody else credit or give something else credit?
Ooh.
Because that's giving it away, giving the credit away.
Right. So like there's not enough credit to go around, maybe, right? Or like a scarcity kind of. So selfishness for sure, right? Like I actually worked my tail off and we're thanking everybody. I did all the work on the project, but thanks guys for helping, right? So we have a lot of ego. We have a lot of arrogance, and that's our human nature. And to be honest, I think we're all a little bit narcissistic. We really, truly maybe don't even notice. We don't even notice the gifts that are around us. Or we think we kind of owed it. We worked hard and it's owed to us, right? So I think that the arrogance is a big one. And we may not even notice the gift. Anything else before we go on? Suspicion. How so?
Because if I'm grateful for this, I might not get more, or if I'm overly excited about this particular gratitude, then it probably won't happen again.
Okay, or it might get taken away.
Or it might get taken away.
Right,
Or
right.
somebody will find out
Mm-hmm.
and be mean about it.
Okay. So just resting in our gratefulness and not overthinking it, right? Just resting in it and being grateful for in that moment, right? And not being fear-driven in our thinking, fearful that it might be taken away, right? You think about your children and you see them sleeping at night and you go, what if something ever happened to them? Oh my gosh, I couldn't live with right? So things like that fearful thinking can take away our gratitude. Anything else? Sorry? Fear? Yeah, fear for sure. Circumstances, right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. All right. Anything else before we go? Right. Right. So being able to see in spite of, right? Right. And then we are going to speak to that in a moment. You ever played a game of tennis or maybe ping pong or for my kids, they would have a real life story about the game of life where the other person playing just gives up, walks away, doesn't want to play anymore, and you're all wound up to make the best shot and they're not there to reciprocate it. Perhaps our ingratitude sometimes look like that. It sometimes looks like we're winding up, and you could be on either side of the court here, winding up for the perfect shot, and no one's reciprocating. And then we feel as if no one really cares, right? And is that sort of unexpressed gratitude, and it's not necessarily that the other person isn't grateful, but they haven't expressed it. But there's no reciprocation when we fail to express our gratitude. And so is that a form of rejection? When we fail to play on our court and to reciprocate, and what is it that holds us back? Maybe it's just plain laziness, right? We just don't have the time to write a note, or we get distracted in life, and I am the worst on that. So what is it that holds us back? Is it just plain inconvenience? Is it an overinflated view of myself? Like, I kind of made this happen. Yeah, you helped a bit, but So what is it that keeps us from reciprocating? There's a Bible passage, and I love some of the things that are in this. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into the village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourself to the priest." As they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praised God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. Jesus said, "Where are the other 10? Did I not heal 10 people? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said, "Go, rise and go. Your faith has made you well." Only one came back. And we're a bit hard on the other 9, but we might see ourselves in the other 9 a little bit. First of all, the lepers were Jews and Samaritans. And in that time, Jews and Samaritans never crossed paths, never associated with each other. But in their leprosy, in their hard time that you were talking about, in their hard time, apparently it didn't matter whether you were a Jew or a Samaritan. You stuck together. The lepers are traveling. They're keeping a distance. Quarantining isn't a new thing in the last 2 years. It happened back then. They were all quarantined always. They couldn't work. They couldn't be with their families because of leprosy. They were keeping it from filtering into the community. So they yell out to Jesus, "Can you help us?" And of course, Jesus is the very essence is hope. And he gives them hope. And he says, "Go to the priest." Why does he go to the priest? Because the priest had to authenticate their healing so that they could go back into the community and work. So that's why they went to the priest. Only one came back. What happened to the other 9? The other 9 were probably pretty grateful. I mean, wouldn't you be grateful? You've been isolated for years and years and years, and now you can go back to your family, go back to your work. The other 9 were probably grateful, and I never really thought about that before. But the other 9 were distracted. They were caught up in the healing, forgetting the healer. And the other 9 were excited about their future. There's nothing wrong with that ambition. Nothing wrong with that ambition. But I think the story really, really shares that we get distracted in the gifts and forget the giver. And that's what I want to point out in this story today. You know what? The whole gratitude conversation can really turn you off maybe, because maybe you don't feel like much is really going on to be grateful for in my life. And I would propose this morning that we all have something. Maybe it's just the very breath that you breathe this morning. That's maybe all that you can be thankful for this morning, and that's okay. We all have something. You may feel like you're kind of sitting on that iceberg. And maybe we just need to be thankful for the breath that we're breathing. In order to truly experience gratitude, do we need to stop, look around, and see who is it that has contributed to where I am today? Maybe we need to just stop and look out at the beautiful, beautiful area we live in and notice creation around us. I think we just need to stop, look, and experience that deep sense of gratitude in our hearts. How can being grateful change us? This is just a very, very couple things to throw at and make you think. Gratefulness is going to make you less fearful, and somebody suggested that this morning. If you're less fearful, then you're probably lashing out less at the people around you, at circumstances around you. So if gratefulness can feed less fear and less lashing out, then you will experience more peace. Your gratefulness could help you act less out of scarcity, which is what you talked about. And out of scarcity is, again, out of fear. But instead of thinking we're not going to have enough, acting less out of scarcity will bring you to more generosity. Being grateful can help you see and appreciate the differences in other people. Instead of being annoyed with the differences in other people, how can I grow? How can I learn? What do they have to teach me? Being grateful can help you become more of a respectful person. Being grateful in noticing the people who have contributed to your lives. Is it your parents? Is it the teacher that was annoying but pushed you? Is it your employees? Who contributed to your life to make your life more successful? And again, that then feeds gratitude. You fill in the blank. How can gratitude change your world? Amazon did a survey, and the results came out that Philippians 4, 6, and 7 was the most highlighted verse in Kindle, in the Kindle Bible app. So, what does it say? I thought we should know. If Amazon says it's the most highlighted verse, maybe that would help us this morning. Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, with prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will transcend all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Again, is this verse a little bit annoying when you're feeling up against the wall? When you're feeling like nothing is going right? Is that annoying? Now, the person who wrote that verse was in jail at the time. So, we can't really judge him for writing that. He was in his darkest hour writing that. So what do we got here? What do we got? We have two options. Paul gives us two options here. We get to be anxious and stressed, or we get to give it over. In every situation, you have two options. You get to be anxious, and that's your choice, or we get to give it over. It doesn't say that you have to be thankful for everything. I think there's things in our life that really are difficult, and it's not easy to be thankful for them. But can we be thankful in them? And is there a difference there? Can we be thankful in our situations, not necessarily for them? There's a lot of horrible things in this world, but can we somehow find peace in them? And it says by prayer and petition to bring your requests with thanksgiving. Again, I think in a religious culture, prayer can get really watered down a little bit. What is that prayer? That deep sense of surrender. Not just a superficial surface prayer. We can pray till the cows come home. If we don't surrender at a deep level the situation we're in, we're not going to get the peace that this is promising. Is it just words to you this morning? Or is it a deep heart, not even something you can even articulate sometimes, like a groan that you surrender to the Lord? Because we don't always have words for the situations we're in. And the peace of God, which transcends all our understanding. It goes above all our understanding. It doesn't make sense mostly because it's God's way of bringing peace. And if you were to write it down and formulate it, you couldn't, because it goes beyond your understanding. It goes beyond my understanding to experience this peace that Paul is talking about. And that peace will guard your heart and will guard your mind. Man, do we need guards on our hearts and minds today. We have so much tapping into our hearts and our minds in this day and age that we live in. We need to be guarded. I'm going to present an invitation for you this morning. It's Thanksgiving, and everybody's, probably thinking about different meals and stuff that you're going to be participating in or have participated in. My proposal this morning is that we take a peek over here for everybody who can see. I really think there's more to life. I know my kids don't agree. I believe that this kids' table here has a time and a place. It's good. It has a time and a place. But it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You know, here at the kids' table, we got a little hit of sugar, this horrendous lollipop made of marshmallow. We got some hits. It gives us a quick little high, a little bit happy here at the table here. Gives us a good kick. But here at this table, we do, like, we're thankful here. We're thankful for our kids. We're thankful for our gummy Teddy Grahams. We're thankful for those. We're thankful for food. We're thankful for our house. We're thankful. But at this table, when we're sitting here at this table, we're still taking tantrums, kid tantrums, right? At this table, we're still taking tantrums because life isn't going the way we want it to go, and we can't see past that. We're all about instant gratification. I need the lollipop now. I'm feeling a little like a sugar kick. We're all about the instant gratification at this table. And that's a kid thing. And I really believe God's calling us to be adults and to grow in our faith and to get deeper and deeper into something that's more sustainable. You can live here. You will survive. I think you'll survive. On granola bars and Sunny D. And Sunny D. And yes. I think you'll survive over here, but I just don't know that it's optimal. I don't know that God calls us, no offense here, but that God calls us to sunshine and lollipops all the time. I really don't. And I think, yes, we can be thankful here, but I think we're being called to something greater. I know I've probably gone here before, but this is my best meditation that I do when I'm stressed. When I'm lying in bed at night and my chest is so tight and I'm having anxious thoughts. And I always go here because I learned it as a child, and it comes to my mind when I'm in dark, deep anxiety. And so I need to go here this morning because it's applicable for me. And I think it's familiar, and Steve talks about be careful of the familiar, because we can miss the depth of something when we're just familiar with it. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters when I'm totally stressed. He restores my soul. He guides me along the right path for his name's sake. And even when I walk through dark days, dark valleys, I fear no evil. Perfect love casts out fear. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I'm the sheep. The rod and the staff, you're the shepherd. They comfort me. That meant more back then than it does now, but stick with me. You prepare a table before me. You prepare a table before me. Not this table. This has its place. You prepare a banquet table before me in the presence of my enemies. I don't like that. I just want it to be you and me, God. I don't want the enemies at the table. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. You're invited to the banquet table this morning. This is really bothersome, because at the banquet table, God prepares this for me. Invites me to go deeper than sunshine and lollipops. He invites me to go deeper here at this table. But he says he actually prepares it in the presence of my enemies. So what's the enemy this morning? What's your enemy? Maybe it's a pandemic, because that's annoying. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's financial hardship. Maybe it's addiction. Maybe that's your enemy this morning. Maybe it's anxiety. That's pretty common. I don't know what the stats are, but that's super common. I've certainly experienced a lot of that. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's people in your life that are just rubbing you the wrong way. You can't see what they're teaching you because all you see is a wall. BOSS. It's just a wall. He invites us to this banquet table, and it's a spread in the presence of our enemies. He asks us to go deeper. What is the benefit of the enemies being at the table? What is the benefit of the enemies at all? Like, I thought sweeter as, what is it? The sweeter as the days go by, sweeter, what's the song we used to sing? Every day with Jesus is sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. But I'm not seeing the sweetness when the enemies are in the way. So why do the enemies get to come to the table? Why can't you just get rid of the enemies? You're God of the universe. Let's get rid of the enemies.
To make peace with them.
To make peace with them, with the enemies. And I think in the presence of the enemies, we have to refocus constantly. We have to refocus not on the gifts, sunshine and lollipops, but we have to refocus on the giver. And our strength comes from the giver. Our strength comes from the intimacy with the giver. And so we are constantly overwhelmed by this, and we need to see past this to the other end of the table. The giver, the sustainer of life, invites you into a perfect peace that is above all of your understanding. That's the invitation this morning.